So we're going to start. Well, let's start with a recap of what we did last week. I mean, with you guys, I don't even think I need to recap because I'm sure that you. Anyway, Grace, give me a line of anything that you remember from. No, I think I'm on the wrong one. 1 second.
From the last session with you,
Yes,
Doc.
yes, yeah.
Okay, so my take home was the this psychometric test. Yes, okay. I'm still very I wouldn't say shocked. It was very enlightening.
With it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, so it's helped me a lot. I think after that session, I've seen the progress I've made with completing tasks that I give myself to complete in a day. I've seen that difference between the time.
Right?
Sorry. Say that again.
Go, I'm listening. Sorry.
Yeah, so I've seen the before and after of the session. Even how to, I think I asked a question about how most of the time I still have, for lack of a better word, a lot of time after I've finished with my to-do list. And you advise that it means that I'm not maximizing the time well. Yes, so I started to add on a little more to my to-do list. And it's helped me this week to meet quite a number of deadlines. Yes, and although, I mean, generally, I feel like every day I'm under pressure because of the different things I do, but I feel a little bit relaxed as compared to the times before the session. Yes, so it was very eye-opening. And another take-home was I never for once thought that there's actually a difference between African entrepreneurs and Westerners in terms of skill acquisition. I thought, I mean, once you're a human being, it's skill. It doesn't have to be different, but I enjoyed that session also so much and realized that by virtue of where we find ourselves geographically, it can even be a handicap. So in our case, it's a handicap. So the basic or the average person needs to have a little extra because of where we find ourselves as Africans.
Fantastic. So Grace, I will not consider it as a handicap. Yeah, as much as I would say it is contextual, right? Because as I said, in somewhere lies many opportunities. You know, when you have challenges, it always comes with opportunities, right? Yeah. So for example, that if you look at the hawkers in the roadside, right? There's absolutely no way you can do that in the West. You know, first of all, living the environment will not allow you in terms of the weather, then, you know, what's it called? The laws, the rules and regulations, word, that kind of thing. But here, you know, people are innovative enough to be able to stand in the hot sun, you know, for as long as, and be able to, the idea is we're bringing the market to you, right, when your car. So it depends on how you're looking at it. I think that there are opportunities in those challenges, and it's not, personally, it's not necessarily a handicap.
Right.
And even if you're able to, I think if you're able to navigate those handicaps, that alone makes you that extra entrepreneur, which is what I was driving at. You know, it makes you that extra entrepreneur that the other person would never be, because they have it, you know, on a silver platter, right? Exactly. So when you're talking about resilience, you know, should something happens to your business, you're not going to hang yourself on a tree, right? Or go on the street killing people, because your mental health, one way or the other, has been tested and tried through all different pitfalls that you have had, right? So everything is, you have to put everything in the correct perspective. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense, Doc. Fantastic. So I even have a question based on what you just explained. Right. I mean, I'm not into civic leadership, but I think that the problem of hawking in Ghana has been an issue, a societal issue for the longest time. But could it also be seen as innovation in the lens of an entrepreneur? Because you can literally shop for everything in traffic.
Yeah. So when I wear my marketing cap, this is about innovative as it gets. you know,
Okay.
and wear that. When I wear, again, like you're saying, in the issues of civic society, environmental health, compliance, right? So
Yeah.
all those people don't pay tax, they do their work, they don't pay tax, they litter. So environmental health, environmental issues come with it, you know. So in that trying to, and this is the greatest marketing problem, because every time a marketer creates a product, they also create a mess, right? So the bottled water that you were
Exactly.
drinking just a moment ago creates environmental problems for the rest of us. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So that's a can anybody hear me? Grace, can you hear me?
I couldn't hear you just about a minute or two ago. The
Yeah.
line, there was a glitch in the line,
Okay.
but I
So
can
in
hear
that,
you now.
okay, if anybody wants to take, you know, a swipe at it, any great takeaways apart from what Grace has said before we zoom into today's activity? Anybody wants to share something, or should we start? Okay, maybe let's start. Grace, can you hear me? I'm going to be using you a lot since you're unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. I can talk. I can hear you
Assuming that
clearly.
everybody can then. All right, so now that we've done the recap, let's look at what we're going to do today. So today, the great thing, the big thing that's on board is the business model canvas, aka the BMC. We'll do the BMC, then we'll do a group activity, then we'll do a value proposition canvas, which is part of the BMC, and then we'll do a second activity, and then if we have time, we'll look at another soft skill. What was last week's soft skill that we looked at, Grace? Do you remember? Or anybody else? Last week's soft skill.
I'm not sure if I'm right, but are you referring to the different? I think we looked at three different categories of skills. Skills you should have as an entrepreneur, and I forget the other two sets.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what you are referring to.
That not particularly, no, that was for the entrepreneurial skills, but I think the soft skill that we did was the communication skills, which we used the psychometrics for, remember?
Okay.
So today we might look at another skill. I don't have a psychometric for cultural competence at the moment, but we will see. If I do it next week, maybe by next week I'll have it. So let's go into what we're going to do today. Today's, just give me one more.
It's time.
Grace, can you hear me? I'm back.
Yes, Doc, we can hear you
Okay,
clearly.
fantastic. So let's talk about the business model canvas. Okay, the business model canvas, as the name would imply, it is a canvas, right? And it's sort of like a strategic, it's not a sort, it's a strategic document, right? That if you are going to start anything entrepreneurship, if you're going to start an entrepreneurial activity, if you're going to start a business, you should, of necessity, think about this. You should get very conversant with this, right? And it helps you to model your thoughts, and particularly with regards to the product or service that you're going to offer and to whom you're going to offer them to. So let's look at it. It's like a grid that has 9 different areas of interest, right? Or questions, put them that way. So as you can see, there's a start point. It says start here. So let's say, Grace, that we're going to, you've decided that you want to, and you tell me a bit, or maybe the group, how it is that you are into skincare, right? Why are you into skincare, or anybody else? Why are you into the businesses that you are into? As a matter of fact, Grace, let me give you an assignment to do for me. Would you please find out the various businesses and industries on this group, right? So if you can group some of them into industries, you know what an industry and a business is, right? You know the difference.
Yes, please.
So if you can group some into industries, that's fine. Those who can fit into industries and they'll fit into business, that's fine. So you have to ask everybody what they do, blah, blah, blah. Or if you already have a list of that sort, then you can share with us in a document form or something on WhatsApp. Let us know who is doing, not who. I'm not interested so much in the who, but you know, what kind of
the industry or business.
And then maybe, you know, if also if you want, like, for example, startups, we want to know maybe how many years. So if for example, you take the fashion industry, which you belong to, even with fashion, I want to know whether it's cosmetics, is clothing, is this, that, and if you have any statistics. So this is a small assignment, as it were, small research for you. Okay, so let's take Grace's work, her business, which is starting, and I know that only because I've asked her, because she was the first to be here. So if you want to talk about it, if you want me to talk about yours or use yours as an example, feel free to alert me. So I know that Grace now is in cosmetics, right? So let's say that Grace was starting today, right? And Grace, you would tell me which questions at the end of the day you didn't particularly pay attention to, right? These are 9 areas that Grace should have paid attention to when she started. So let's start from the middle. The middle says, what do you do? And I like this question that it doesn't ask what product or what service do you offer, but the question is asking what is your value proposition? And please pay particular attention to that word, very, very important. We'll come back to it in just a bit. What is your value proposition? Not what product or service, right? So I will take it from what do you do? That's the first question. Grace, did you ask yourself what my value proposition is? We will come back to that answer. All of you should ask yourself, is this what I was asking myself when I started my business? Or for those of you who would like Asaba, you know, who would like to set up a bank, then this is the question that you should be asking yourself, you know, what value proposition am I giving to my customers? Then how do you interact? How would I interact, Grace, with my customers? And for that, you're looking at customer relationship, okay? Then you're looking at how do I reach them? How would I reach these customers of mine? And for that, you're looking at distribution channels. Then on the far right, you're asking yourself, who do I help? Who would I like to help? Or who would I like to provide value proposition to? And for that, you're looking at your customer segment. Now, let me say that what do you do, which is your value proposition, and who do you help, customer segments, they go hand in hand. So these would be sort of like the 2 most important questions that you would have had to ask yourself when you're going into business. Then let's go to the left. Another question there is, how do I do it in terms of what are my key activities, right? And then what do I need in terms of my key resources? Operative word being key, not all the resources, but key resources that I need. And then on the far left, who will I help in terms of, who will help me? Who will help me in terms of who are my partners, my key? Again, operative word is, please do note the far left, the difference between the far left and the far right. The far left says, who will help me, or who will help you? So who will help Grace in terms of your partners? Then the far right says, who would Grace help in terms of Grace's customers? Okay. And then at the bottom, for the last two, what would it cost me to be able to offer value in terms of my cost structure? What would my cost structure be? And then on the far right at the bottom, you have how much will I make, which is my revenue stream. So how many different revenue streams do I have? Okay, if I were to ask any of you, take Uber for example, how many revenue streams do you think Uber would have? Let's have this conversation very quickly. Number one, anybody at all? How many revenue streams do you think? How many different places are they getting money from? Number one.
I'll say directly from the customers. So
From the
like
customers,
for services,
so fantastic. Customer, that's fine. Customer is one stream. Number two, same.
another one can be from partners and sponsors. So if they do commercials on top of the cars.
Fantastic. That's another revenue stream. Number three, anybody else?
And okay.
Anybody else?
I think the drivers, even the drivers.
Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Because when they register, when they onboard, they pay some. Any other revenue streams?
Can I say partners?
Sorry,
can you say delivery from partners? I don't know. Uber does delivery, right? So like I'm not totally sure if they do it.
But the delivery would come. Are you talking about something like Uber Connect?
Excuse me?
Are you talking about like Uber Connect?
Yeah, like Uber Eats. Uber Eats, where like I believe the businesses on the platform pay something, right?
Yeah, but that will still be customers. So whether you have a business customer or an ordinary customer, as it were, right? So at least we've got these three main ones. Did anybody have another one? So we've got drivers, we've got customers, we've got partners, right? Fantastic. Let's hold on to these three. So when you're talking about how much money will I make, what are my revenue streams, right? So Grace, you should be asking yourself that question. Or do you have only one revenue stream, as in coming only from your customers, or do you have multiple revenue streams? And if you have just one, it has its pluses and minuses. And if you have multiple, also has its pluses and minuses. Obviously, the more the better. So you've got the 9 questions, right?
Yes.
Have a quick look. If you need to capture it by phone or something, just do that for a moment, because everything we do now would be premised on these 9 questions. So I'm going to give you 1 second if you want to capture it. But if you think I will repeat it again and again. All right. So let's go here. Now, the same thing I've said, right? We're going to have a look at it again. So let's start from the primary one. Grace, which is the primary one? Where did we start from? Anybody?
Value proposition. What do you do?
Fantastic. Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah.
Value proposition, right? So Deborah, since you're there, Deborah, can you read for me? What does it say?
Okay, it says, what product or services can I create for the market I am targeting? Okay,
but remember, Deborah, you know that the question was not, what was the question? The question was not,
what do you do?
It says, what do you do, right? And it was talking about the value. And I wanted to keep that. What other synonym can we use for value? What other synonyms are there for value? Anybody? Any other? Let me check on the chat if you've got, if you write it on the chat.
Unique selling point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, another word for value. There are many.
Special.
Okay, I'm looking for one with a W that starts with a W.
Worth.
Worth, fantastic, right? So that you're talking about the worth that you're giving to the customer. Okay. So Adepo, which is the second most important one?
How do you interact? Customer relationship.
No. Adepo, are you
No,
there?
I think it was the customer segment, right?
Fantastic. Grace, pay attention. All right. So I
Oh, I
thought
need
these two are
percussion.
the most important. They go hand in hand. They really
Okay.
go hand in hand, right? So Adepo, what do you have there? Can you read that?
Which market groups or segments am I creating value for?
And please do note how is plural, right? Groups is
Yep.
group or groups, right? So that's something, if you've done anything about market segmentation, how to divide the market and find who your, which ones you want to target. And I like the fact that it keeps saying, am I creating value for, as opposed to am I serving with a product or a service, right? So Grace, you need to be thinking of your enterprise as a value creation enterprise as opposed to a product or a service enterprise. The same way for Asaba. When you're building your bank, you're not building it only as a product, as a bank that provides it's a financial institution bank or that provides financial services. It's a bank that provides value for a certain group of people. Okay. All right. So then we go to the customer relationship. Remember the question? What was the question? Grace, you help me with that. What was the question?
The original question was, how do you interact?
How do you interact? And the question under that is,
But here we have, how will I get, keep,
how
and
will I get,
grow them?
how will I grow them? I'm going to give you an assignment. An assignment is coming right up. So pay attention to this. Again, if you need to screenshot it, do that, right? How will I get them? First of all, how will I attract them? That's the question that you're asking here. How will I attract them? How will I recognize them? How will I keep them? And then how will I grow them? And then let's go to the question of channels. Grace, what was the question again? What was the original question?
The original question on distribution channel was, how do you reach them?
Fantastic. How do you reach them? And the question was distribution channel.
And the question here says, how will I deliver the value I have created?
So it's about delivery, right? Remember that you're delivering the value. Sorry, you're producing or creating, yes, you're creating the value somewhere. And then maybe in your case, it might be your bedroom, your home or somewhere, or a shop. In the case of Asaba, it might be an institution, a bank that people have to come to, or that she has to go to. And how do I deliver this value to them? Asaba, can you check the back volume, background noise, please? Okay, so from there we went to key activities. What was the original question again, Grace?
The original question was, how do you do it?
Okay, and here is?
And here is, what are my CSF's activities?
What is CSF?
Ooh.
Okay, I'll give you a moment to think about that. We'll come back to it in a minute.
Okay.
And then the question on resources, what?
The original question.
Wait. Anybody knows the CFS, please? You've used this term, I'm sure, over and over again. Anybody knows what CFS means? Anybody?
I don't know. Cash something. I don't know.
Critical. Let's start with critical success factors, right? I'm sure you've heard that phrase many times.
Okay.
Right?
Success.
Success value, critical success. Okay. So Grace, back to you. Key resources. What was the original question?
Key resources. For original question, we had, what do you need?
And
what do you need? And here we have, which assets are critical?
Okay, right. So again, you're thinking of assets which are critical. If somebody starts a consultancy, for example, let's take me, and then I'm coaching, let's say that this was my main business of coaching Yali. What do you think would be my assets? What would you think would be my key resources? Deborah, you're on. What do you think would be a key resource for a coach like me? What are the
well, I think you need a laptop, like
Fantastic.
a means of communication.
Fantastic.
Like,
do I need a laptop? What else do I need?
You need a good connection,
I need good connection.
internet
Right.
connection.
What else do I
Then
need?
you need your lecture materials to like this slide you're sharing.
Fantastic.
It's
What
one
else?
of your resources.
What else do I need?
Um,
And when you list them, then we come to now sort it out to say which ones are critical, right? Which ones are really, really, really critical. Okay. So if I had a phone, if I needed a phone and a laptop, for example, would you say both are critical, or is this the one that is most critical, or what? You know, so you do that list and then you begin to say, these are my critical assets. Okay. And then on the far left, we've got what was the original question again?
Original question for key resources. Doc, did you say
No,
key resource?
key partners.
Key partners. Who will you help?
Okay.
Who will help you? I'm sorry. Who will help you? Key
So
partners.
who
Original
will you
question.
help? Who will you help was for what?
What was for customer segment?
Customer segments. Okay.
Yeah.
So the question here now is, who can
Who
best
will
help
help
you to leverage your business model? Who can best help you, right? So Asaba, you would be talking about different set of partners as opposed to what who Grace would be talking about. A lot of you might still have the 3 Fs, family, friends, and fools, right? Who have money to give to you. Others might have mentors and this and that and business partners and so on and so forth. Okay, so now let's come to the bottom left, cost structure. Original question, please.
Original question. What will it cost?
Okay,
What will it cost? And we have, what are the most important costs in my business?
and your business. Deborah, let me come back to you. So what are the most important costs in my business, do you think?
Most important costs.
Mhm.
I don't really get the question.
For
like,
me, you stick to the coach. You are now the one who is you are my business strategist, right? So
okay.
what would be my most important cost, do you think?
Well, that would be your time.
My time. Fantastic. Fantastic. What else? Fantastic. What else?
Then the money you use for like buying data is one of it.
And what do you call that when you're running your everyday running? What do you call that?
Variable
Fixed cost.
Fixed cost or running costs, right? So there's certain
Yes.
costs that won't change. For
Yes.
example, once I buy my laptop, I have to amortize it over the period of time, right?
Yes.
If I
Yes.
say I'm amortizing it for 5 years or something, that would be
Yes.
cost of, So you guys are smart, you know all of this already. And then the last bit of it, the ninth one, Grace, back to you. The original question was, and which we have
revenue
engaged.
stream.
Fantastic. So
How much will you make?
fantastic. And then
And
what
we have here, how will I generate revenue?
okay.
What are my pricing strategies?
Fantastic, right? So if I have my business, for example, now Grace, what's her name? Deborah is my chief strategist, right? She's gonna say to me that, oh, because you get yearly 3 times a year, right? Then your cost must be very different from if Asaba had a bank running and she asked you to come and do 1 or 2 courses or exercises for her. So so Deborah is now going to now sit down and say, for your long-term customers, you charge them this, for the other ones, you charge them that. And then she's going to say, these are the areas that you should be focused on in terms of how will you generate that revenue that will now cover your overhead expenses or your running costs, right? So Deborah is my chief strategist at the moment. Thank you very much, Deborah. Deborah, if my organization fails, should it fail, it will be on you now, okay? Just so that you know.
All right, ma.
Just so you know. So, okay, so let's take a moment to look at Netflix business model, right? Before, in the very early times. Now, the assignment that you'll be doing at the end of the day, I want you to come up with something like this, depending on what you choose, okay? So have a look again, and which is your, okay, let's discuss the first one, which is the value proposition. So what value do they offer, right? And please pay attention to some of the words there. 24/7 on-demand entertainment. See how the word is value is entertainment and not the first thing wasn't about movies. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Right? Entertainment. Okay. Then the second one is what? View
You
high
high
definition
definition
shows
shows,
and movies.
movies.
Then stream content, and then unlimited access, and then Netflix original. And you know how now, I don't know if you've noticed how Netflix original is sort of taking over the blockbuster. They have more Netflix original, or as many Netflix originals as they have,
Yeah.
you know, and guess what? As they created this, right? This Netflix original is giving should I say, mundane people, ordinary people, the opportunity. You know, so you see some very good shows that are not blockbuster, but they're very good, right? I think last week there was one, if you're an action person, Night Agent, I think it's called, right? And you look at it and you don't recognize, maybe you might recognize just this one guy from some other show, but otherwise the rest of them are, you know, the new kids on the block. But that's what Netflix original does. It enables, and that's how come it's also enabling other countries, you know, content from other countries as well. So see how it's about entertainment and it's not about movies, right? 3D, um, is it
30
3D or
day free
30-day
trial.
free, okay, trial, and then no commercial, which some of us are very happy to skip. You know, even when they say recap, you know, when they say last recap from last week, you know how you press it, you say skip,
Yeah.
right? So this is the value, right? So Grace, now that you know that, should I ask you what your value proposition? And I'm hoping to God you won't tell me that it is cream for my skin or cream for my hair. So you need
Right.
to sit down now and then break it down into the real value. Okay. I want us to also look at the customer segment. What do you have there?
Micro segmentation,
Mm-hmm.
2000 preference clusters usage,
Mm-hmm.
usage segmentation, and geographical
And the user.
content. No, user segmentation, geographical,
Mm-hmm.
then content and languages.
Okay. So how do you explain that? Anybody, how do you explain this under customer segments? How do you
I think
explain?
that basically there are departments for even the type of entertainment. So it's not a general entertainment, depending on your preference. So say you are into action movies, there are movies for that. You are into rom-com, there are movies for that. So they have broken down even the different types of entertainment so that it appeals to.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts?
I'll go. I think at first they targeted 2,000 people. That will be early birds.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, based on that usage and the geographical. Yeah, and then they segmented maybe different proposition to different geographical, based on like the production, the contents and stuff like this, like language.
Do you see that? Do you when you use Netflix, do you see that?
I'm pretty sure it adapts. Yeah, I'm sure it adapts to your
Any other thoughts?
location.
Any other thoughts besides?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For me, from what I understand, is like a demography of their customers, per se, trying to know for every region, what are some of the things that they need. Like, for example, if you go to even YouTube, you see that like based on your location, there are certain contents that you can see on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
So they are also trying to put their customers in that segment. Like you have the Netflix for like ages, Netflix for regions, and what kind of languages. So the
Right.
movies that they're going to post on those sites will be really determined based on those things like that.
How many of you use the other one? What's it called? Prime and how Prime doesn't work. You know, when you talk about the geographical location, that's what came to mind. How many of you are on Prime? Prime movies, and it doesn't show. Anyway, never mind. Okay, so you will take your time, okay? And because most of you know Netflix, I chose that one and Uber. One of these days, I'm looking forward to us maybe doing a research like this on Dangote that we can use instead of Netflix. Or in Ghana, then Zoom Lion, we can use Zoom Lion and many other organizations and fix, you know, do the research and fix all of these things. And so take your time to have a look at it. You're coming right back to it in just a minute. So now let us go into just 1 second, one moment. Okay, so we're going to go, can you hear me? You're going to go into groups, right? And your task is to select an existing business owned by a member of the group, right? And then answer not the 9. Okay, yeah, let's see. Yes, let's do answer 9 questions posed by the, so just general, like we go right back to the first, where are we here? So you look at this, use this one, okay? Use this BMX. So you start with, what do you offer? What does this company, and put the company's name there. What does X company offer in terms of value proposition? Then you write it, just 1 sentence. Who do they help in terms of customer segments? Then you put a couple of customer segments, not as detailed as this one, not as detailed as this one, but just 1 or 2 answers for the 9, and then we can come back to, let me just check if the group has been created. Okay, so we're going to go into groups of 5, right? And then you're going to select, yes, you're going to select one, any of your own or your businesses. If okay, sorry about that. Okay, so at the group set, are we good to go? Yes, please. So group has started. Find your group, right? Find your room, the room that you belong to. And then if there are only 2 of you, don't worry. Even if there's just 1 of you, don't wait for anybody. Really don't wait for anybody. Just, you can do this. This is supposed to be you can do it as an individual assignment. If you have, the more the merrier, but it doesn't mean that 1 person can do it. So if I give you 10 minutes, a minute for everyone, that's 9, and then you use 1 to decide or select the the firm. Is that all right?
Yes, Lord.
10 minutes starting now, so we'll come back at 3:05. I'll be in the various rooms, so let's get started quickly. That's also one of the other entrepreneurial skills that you need. You need to be very agile and very quick. You know, that's the thing that Africans struggle with. Before we even start the conversation, it's 20 minutes into the session. So quickly, just say, I volunteer my organization or whatever, and then let's start with the question. So it's going to be the leader, or if you're all going to be leaders, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to enter room 1 now and see who is there. homes that don't have TV. So who would be, and you're looking for the right fit. So back to you, Grace. I am asking the question of how does your value fit in with your customers? That's the question, right? What is the value between what your customers want and what you think you can provide? So I remember that in group 4, they were also focusing on, was it group 4? No. Group 4, is that Nana Kwesi's group? Nana Kwesi's group. Nana Kwesi's group, which group was that?
Group 3. Group 3.
Fantastic. Okay, group 3. So what is the fit between what the customers want and the agro processes or the manure? I can't remember exactly what you were, but the business, that business, what are you providing and how do you fit it with? You start by, the word is assessing. Maybe absolutely sure. You start by assessing what your customers need and what you are offering. Let me show you a short video on that, and then we will come back to I'll come back to answer a few questions. Oh, 1 second.
Hello, this is Anna at Railsburg.
David, can I borrow you for a minute? David, can I borrow you for a minute? Okay, I think I found what I'm looking for. Has my screen changed now to a move to the
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
In our last video, we have discovered how does the lean canvas work for validating your startup business
Can
model.
you hear it?
Today,
Yes, we
focus
can,
on
Doug.
how the product offers to your customers by learning how to use the value proposition canvas. We will also see how the value proposition canvas works for Uber back when it was getting off the ground. If you have any questions or ideas along the way, please share them with us in the comments. Both startups and existing businesses fight for their place in the market by introducing their products and services. However, not all of them are destined to succeed with customers. More than a half of new propositions fail to meet customers' expectations and fade away. You can avoid failure only if you identify your customers' problems and give them the design, features, and functionality they want. And that's what a value proposition canvas can help you with. The value proposition canvas originates from the business canvas. This is a sort of shortened business plan designed to create the value of your idea by breaking it down into 9 essential components. 2 of them, unique value proposition and customer segments, form the value proposition canvas, the tool that allows you to design, test, and visualize the value of your product for customers in a structured way. The value proposition canvas is divided into 2 parts, the customer profile, circle, and the value map, square. Each part consists of 3 sections that describe specific features of a customer or product respectively. The circle on the right refers to the customer segment. It describes the motivation to buy the product and consists of jobs to be done, gains, and pains. This part explains why the customer needs this product. The square on the left features the value map by listing products and services, as well as describing pain relievers and gain creators. The best way to understand the practicality of the value proposition canvas is to investigate it through an example. We've decided to use Uber as an example back in the time of its foundation and focus on one customer segment, passengers. So here we go. Let's go back in time to when Uber did not exist yet. How would Uber's founders describe taxi passengers' pains back then? We start with the customer profile and jobs your customers need to have done. Don't focus on the functional jobs only. Emotional and social ones are also essential. We think of all jobs for taxi service users. Enter ticket service, control cost for the ride, wait for the cab for some unknown amount of time, and pay for the trip. Pains include blockages and problems your customers may face trying to get the jobs done. In our case, taxi customers could experience low cab availability, bad drivers can happen, need to book a cab in advance, and issues with payment for the taxi service, cash or card. The next step is to specify gains. They are more than just the opposite of the pains. Gains describe positive outcomes the customer expects when the job is getting done. These include benefits, aspirations, and results like trusted driver, zero time and payment, one-click order or cancellation, and tracking your cab. Once we have shaped the customer profile, we can move forward to the value map. Here we begin with products and services your value proposition offers to get the jobs done. Our list consists of Passenger's mobile app, Uber Pop, Uber X, and Black Cab. Then we need to describe how these products or services can minimize or reduce the mentioned pains and outline in which way they create the gains. Gain relievers are meant to improve the customer experience. We chose 24/7, 365 availability of cabs, driver ratings, arrival and travel time prediction, and flawless automatic payment. As gain creators, an Uber customer can expect a rating system, automatic credit card payment, the ability to manage all trip details on a single platform, and navigating your trip on the map. Value proposition canvas aims at achieving a fit between what the customer wants and what your product or service can offer to overcome pains and generate gains. In practice, your customer profile may have tons of jobs to be done, pains and gains, but the value map outlines which of them you focus on. The more items from the right part have matches on the left one, the higher the probability that your product will strike home. Do not forget that the value proposition canvas is a detailed extract from the lean canvas or business model canvas. Therefore, the success of your future product depends on how good the entire canvas is. A holistic approach to assessing what your customer wants and what you can provide is the path to success. That was the intro to the value proposition canvas. If you found this video helpful, press thumbs up.
Okay. Let me come back there. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Ma, I'll get to you.
All right. Any thoughts? Any thoughts while I try and go back to my Skype? Any thoughts? Has my screen changed now?
Yes.
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 Okay. So any thoughts quickly? You guys, you've listened to watch something. Yes, Emmanuel, please go for it. You must have thoughts. Everything you read or see, you must have your own opinion. Yes, go on. Emmanuel.
What I understand from the video is what products can provide to the customer. What can make you stand customers? What I understand. What are the product out there? What can you provide different from the other traders or as well, or products out there? So that's what I understand.
Okay. All right. So what we're trying to achieve by these two, remember that these are two, shall I say, two items that we've taken out of the 9, right? Those 9 form items that you can use or are supposed, this is the beginning, this is how you start writing your business strategy or your business model. For those of you who've never written a strategy business model before, a business strategy or business model before, this is the easiest way that you can do it, right? So if you want to tell people about your business, you start with what's my value proposition, who are my segments, who are my partners, what are my key resources, key activities, blah, blah, my distribution, my revenue stream, and so on and so forth. If you are able to put a lot of flesh to these 9 questions, you're on your way to already creating a business model or a business strategy for yourself, okay? I hope you heard in the beginning when it was saying that about half of businesses fail. And I think that even for entrepreneurs, for startups, the figure is higher. It's like 80% of all startups fail in the first 2 years, right? And then when you come to Africa, it's another different statistics altogether. Now, a lot of this can be attributed, and I say this here, if you never knew it, please pay attention. A lot of this failure can be attributed or can be resolved, let me rather put it that way, resolved by using this VPC, the value proposition canvas. And the reason is that a lot of the times there is no real fit, no right fit between the value proposition and the customers. So essentially what I'm saying is that if you do not want your business to fail, for those of you who are running your own businesses, Grace, Nana Kusi, I don't know who else who use their business, but for all of you who are running your businesses, this is now time to sit back, even though you've been doing it for 2 years or more, it's time to sit back and ask yourself, do I have the right fit between my value proposition and my customer segment or my client profile? Okay, now let's look at some of the things that the video talked about in the client profile. The first thing was what? The first one was what?
Customer job.
Right? Customer jobs. So now this is an assignment I have for you, okay? The same thing that you did for the 9 questions, we're now going to transport or transpose this into this, right? So think of Yali. This time it's not Nana Kusi's or Grace's job, it's Yali, right? So think of the business, it's not Uber, it's not Netflix, it's Yali. So think of Yali, especially the regional, the RLC here, okay, in Accra. So let's look at the value proposition of Yali and the client profile of Yali, right? So when you look at the first one, which was saying that customer jobs, right? It means that every single customer has some work to do for them to be able to experience and enjoy or otherwise the value proposition. So it was talking about Uber. I will try not to use Yali too many times so that I don't give you all the answers. But it was talking about Uber, and it was saying that your job as an Uber person, first to download the app, and then to maybe become conversant with the app, and then go and then click for the different products that are there, and then you wait, and then you pay, and then you cancel, and then you do. That's your job. It's the same if I were using Silverbirds, right? A cinema here. If I want to go to the cinema, I have to actually maybe go on the app or make a phone call to say, today, what are you people showing? And then once I've got that, I now have to transport myself either through Uber or by driving myself. And then I have, many things to deal with before I get there. And then I get there, or maybe I might want to pay before I get there. If I don't pay before I get there, then when I get there, I have to pay. And then to have the whole cinema experience, then I have to go and buy popcorn and soda and this and that, all of that. And then I must find a comfortable chair. For those of you who are short-sighted, you might want to sit back. Those of you long-sighted, you might want to sit forward. Or you have so many things to do before you can actually watch the movie. So the question to you, Grace and Anakuti, what do your customers have to do? The same way, what did you have to do, or what are you still doing to be part of this Yali group, right? Then it talked about gains. What gains are you providing for your customers, right? So in terms of gains, you might look at things like, it talks about the positive outcome, right? I could watch the same movie, John Wick. The next John Wick is out. Is it here already? Is it in Africa? How many of you have seen the John Wick?
I haven't.
You haven't. Okay, so the question is, why would I go to the cinema to see John Wick and maybe not wait for it on Netflix or those of you who pirate it, why not pirate it? May the Lord have mercy on all of you who are pirating. Because maybe you want the cinematography kind of experience, right? Bigger screen, which you don't have at home, peace of mind. You don't want anybody to be bothering you. Maybe it's a time to go out with your partner, and which you can't do at home. So all the different gains that you get out of it is also to be able to say, I went out to the cinema, right? These are gains. And then when it comes to pains, these are positive outcomes. The positive outcomes, then you are the negative outcomes. You're looking at things that would irk you, right? Would pinch you, would make you feel upset. So for example, when you go back to me trying to get to the cinema, one of the things that would irk me would be traffic. If I have traffic, or if I'm ordering an Uber and I have all the challenges with it, or if I'm trying to pay, I don't have cash today, I want to pay by card, and their app is not just functional enough for me to be able, all those things give me pain. Or should I call their star, I was going to say Starbite, the cinema, and then it says, the lady at the, she can't seem to hold the conversation. You are asking her questions and she's being so unpleasant. All of these things are pain. So what are your pains when it comes to Yali? This will be a great time for me to hear that, to pass it on to the people that matter. But try and keep it balanced. I'm sure you've got pains gains for some of you. The gains will be the certificate that you get. So now, Grace, and now we see everybody else, you've got to sit down and start looking at these things like, what are the jobs? And of course, you don't want to give your customers too many jobs. If I have to do so much to get to the cinema, I won't do it, right? I'll do some and I will not do some. So how can I make sure that they have only the appropriate amount of work or jobs to do? How can I give them more pleasure, more positive outcomes? How can I reduce? Okay, how can I reduce their pains for them? So that's in the customer profile. Then you come to your value profile. What do you have in the value? You have, the first one was what?
The products and services.
The products and services. Did you notice that what are some of the new ones that have been added since what they only mentioned a few? What are some of them? Somebody's already mentioned it this afternoon. What are some of the new ones that have been added?
I'm not sure what the name is, but you can do community ride hailing. So you are picked up, then another person can also be picked up, so that you share the costs.
The shared. Yeah. Then you have the Uber Connect, which was not there before, right? When they started and all of that. So this is listing your product. Okay, so that's the easier part of it. So let's list Yali's product that they have. And then the other thing was what?
The pain relievers.
Pain relievers, right? So remember that we've already talked about pain. I'm saying that one of the biggest pain will be like if I call and the lady at the phone or the gentleman at the phone was being nasty. How do you minimize that pain? Okay, or my Uber experience to the cinema, how do you minimize it? Or my popcorn and what you call it, the soda experience, how do you minimize those pains for me? Or my trying to order to pay for my services. There's nothing worse than wanting to pay and not being able to pay for one thing or the other. What would you like? So let's look at some of the pain relievers. It's like taking a paracetamol to relieve you of a headache that you have. It's a reliever. That's the operative word, relief, and not necessarily that the thing is going to vanish, but it minimizes the pain. And then the last one is what, Grace?
Doc, I can't see.
Who had the last one? Pain relievers, and what do we have here? Let me see.
That's product and service, pain reliever. And
who else has better eyes? Hold on, no worries. I think there's gain something.
Yeah.
Z gain reactor like that, something of such.
Then if I increase it more, even I can't see it.
I think it's gain creators.
It's a creator, yes, it is a creator. So you're looking at how you can create gain, right, for your product. Remember what we said, that we've looked at gains and pains on the customer side. So again, how do you create gains, right, for your customers? So how has Yali created some of the gains for you? Okay, so for example, one of the first things would be a prestigious, the certificate, in terms of that is already a gain for the customer, the client profile. But the more that they're adding things to it, or the more that it's becoming more recognized and so on and so forth, that is creating a gain. So look at these things. Now, I asked a question on WhatsApp the other day and nobody responded. I noticed how nobody reacted to it, because my question was that, have you taken time to do any more research on the entrepreneurial skills that we studied the other day? And no single person answered that question. It was very intriguing for me. Now, this video I showed you is on the internet, right? You can see it in many different ways. If you are a TED Talk person, it would be in TED Talks in many different ways. So go and have a look at it and see how you can relate it to Yali. So now I'm trying to think of how I can get this assignment back in the groups. Grace, what shall we do? What have you done typically? Have you had any assignments from Dr. Pascal or Professor Bing just yet?
Not yet, Doc.
Yet. Okay. So what shall we do to this one? When shall
I think we can still go with the breakout rooms, only that I don't know if every group took notice of the members in the various groups.
It's gone. But I asked you, I said to you, every time I came into the rooms, I said, but it's easy to find. I mean, at least you know one person. So ask the person. You do the groups, right?
Yeah, I think for my own group, we're able to
I know my group members.
Yes, so that's okay. So that's fine. You do it amongst yourself, and then I want to see how we're going to share it. That's what I want to know. We'll share it on WhatsApp, right? Or
yes,
yeah, we'll share it on WhatsApp. So yeah, this is the assignment, and I hope group 4, those of you who weren't listening before, or who I hope you've got the assignment. Can somebody besides Grace and Asaba and Nancy was your group. Nancy, can you recap my assignment, please? What am I asking of you?
Doc, I think I'm lost.
Okay, yeah. Who else was in Nancy? Who else was in your group? Sheku or something like that. Did I get it right? Sheku, are you there?
I was actually in group 1.
No. Nancy was in Nancy. You were in group 4, right?
Group 3.
Group 3. Okay, so that's was it a group? Was it a group that got
it's
lost?
Nana Kosi.
Sheku, which group were you in? Sheku was in group 4. Lady Paula. See, these are some of the issues we're talking about. You can't just disappear. You really can't just disappear. So, when I hear you people talking about Africa and how it doesn't work, this is how it starts. You are supposed to be in here engaging. I've called a couple of you in the same group. Nobody's there. Then you say we didn't understand. Lady Paula, are you there?
Yeah, please, I'm here.
Okay, please, can you answer my question? Can you just tell me what I'm requesting of you? Were you in group 4?
I was in group 3.
You were in group 3?
Yes.
I was in group 4, please. Sorry, my call got, my Zoom meeting got interrupted.
Okay, all right. Please, what was the question? What am I asking of you? What's the assignment?
Okay. I'm sorry, but I missed it. I just missed it because the person was interrupted.
Okay, please pay attention, everybody. I'm asking you to use this same canvas, what we're calling the value proposition canvas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With the work that you did before, you use another company, a company within your group, right? Now, forget about that company and use Yali. with a direct focus on this RLC here in Accra, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
use yearly as your firm and answer these 6 questions within these 2 items within the box and the circle. Okay, that's what I can say for now. I can't recap every single thing in terms of jobs and pains. And
Yes,
so if you
I got
didn't
all of that.
understand it,
I got all of that
Google
before
it.
the
You got all of that.
Okay,
Fantastic.
sorry, please. Can I
Okay,
ask
so
a question?
mhm.
Like, are we
Go for it.
supposed to do this in groups in our
Yes.
different group? Okay,
No, same group
in
as
same
we
group.
use.
Okay, so but I think Lady Paula was in my group 3, because I
Fine.
think she
No
joined.
problem. I've recounted. That's fine. I've recounted the question. So whoever didn't hear before should have heard it. It's a very simple thing. If one of you would also like to share it on WhatsApp, if you understood the question and you'd like to share it, that's fine. Okay, so we'll move on to something very, very similar to, so now let's focus for a moment on the client profile or the client segment, right? We've said that the 2 most important things on that business model or business canvas is to, or business strategy document, is to look at your value proposition and then your client segment, right? Now, how are you going to find your clients? Let me take you through that and your value proposition. Just 1 minute. I'll take you through that in 2 seconds. Let's look at something called the customer discovery circle, as in how do you discover your customers, right? Remember that in that group, it had different segments, right? So Uber had its own segments. Whichever company you engage with in your groups had its own segment. Yali would have its own segments, right? So how do you juxtapose your value proposition with your segment? So let's start from 1. You come to a place where you have a state of hypothesis where you think, and I think that last week, that was what Professor Obeng was supposed to have taken you through, the ideation process, right? The ideation process. So you start thinking. So let me go back to you, Grace. You start thinking, what was the thought behind I want to produce cosmetics? What was the thought behind it, right? Then once you start thinking it, then you start, the next thing will be to explore. You go into phase 2 to test the problem. So what was the thought? So because I don't have time, I can't. Okay, let me ask you, Grace, what was your thought?
My skin was breaking out.
Okay.
And it was something I had experienced as a child. And it occurred to me that the only solution was my mother formulating natural products.
Okay.
That helped me tame it as a child. So
okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's your state. That's your first phase, right?
Yeah.
But then the next thing is, who will buy? Who am I targeting? Who is this for, right? Then you come to phase 2. Let's explore by testing the problem hypothesis to say, in your case, how many people's skin break out that I can speak to? Do you see that you've moved from thinking? Can you see the icons, like you thinking to now on the right, you have 3 people, right? Can you see that? So you now begin to test. Okay, now let me call, is it Adeboya or something like that? I forgot your name.
Yes,
let me call
Adepo, I'm here.
Yapo, yes, Yapo. So let me call Yapo. Let me call Nancy. Let me call Nana Kusi, and then start testing my product on them. The hypothesis, which is the thought, right? Is the thought. So I call the 3 of them and I say, oh, Yapo, what do you think of XYZ? Nancy, what do you think of YWC? Nana, what do you think of this and that and the other, right? So you start, people, oh, actually, it's a great idea. Oh, oh, how about you add this? Oh, not so much. I think that there's already this product on the market, and so on and so forth. Then you begin to, explore. Then you move to phase 3. At the point where you've now heard all of what people have said and you've now rejigged, right? You've gone back to say, okay, so they're saying that this product exists somewhere. I'm going to look at it. I see that actually what they use, even though, yes, they're using herbal products, they're only using 25% of it, right? And I think that for me, for the breakout, it had to be 60%. So now I've gone back and I've thought of, okay, let me increase my aloe vera, let me increase my this, let me increase my that, reduce my glycerin, let me do this and that and that. And now I come to the testing product concept. Now that I've got enough views, I've done enough research and I've added all of them, then I come and say, okay, Yapo, here's one for you. Nancy, here's one for you. Here that I go and test, right? Tell me what you think about it. Okay, does it have enough shea butter in it? Does it not? Does it become hard after 2 minutes? Blah, blah, blah. Does your skin itch? And so on and so forth. Then from there, you go to the verifying place where they come back and they tell you, when I used it, it's too greasy and it's too heavy. And when the sun shines on it and that all the time.
Has to melt.
Or it melts, blah, 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 blah. Then you now go back to so you keep going through this cycle until you find the right fit, the right customer who is happy with your product before you start producing. So Grace, did you ever do any such thing?
Yes, Doc, fortunately I did.
Fantastic. So this is what all of you should be thinking. That is how you get the right. Remember where we were. You had looked at the VC is about finding what? Finding what? It's there. Can you not read it? The VC is about
the right fit.
About finding the right fit. Fantastic. And this is how you do it by adding so here you remember that you have the value, the idea plus the people. Do you see it? The idea plus the people you are exploring it with until finally you have a right product that says this, that, or the other. Does that make sense? And that is how you discover your customers, the right fit, the right customers. Okay. All right. So I had another assignment for you. Now, this is a challenge if we start this thing 30 minutes late, right? So most of you were 30 minutes late, or at least 25 minutes late at the time we were starting. And so, I mean, it means that essentially I need 25 more minutes, but I also need to be somewhere 25 more minutes because that's not how I planned it. So we're gonna have a problem. So please, please, please try and come early enough, okay? When we have time, please capture it. Nancy, kindly capture this page for me. One of these days, once we finish, let's finish with the VPT, the value proposition canvas. Once you've done it and I've understood how you've done it, then you can apply. So what you did with your businesses, you can now decide on any business at all, whether you want to keep the same or you want to keep a different one, and then go in more depth, identify and discuss the value proposition for the clients, and we'll do that. So I've already given you that assignment to do this one, right? This is actually, where am I, Grace? This is actually the what do you call it? Blah, 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 the question. So you can capture this and put it on. Do you remember? Identify and discuss the value proposition and the client profile. That's the question I've given you, remember, right?
Yes, yes.
And which organization are you using it for?
Yali.
Yali. So it's not, this time it's not using the same, at the top it says using the same business, right? So erase that and say using Yali, right? Are you with me?
Yes,
okay, so this time, so capture it in your own word and put that assignment there, and then the group. Right? Those who don't have groups, form your own groups, find people to form it with. Okay, so let me take so far. Let's talk about that, because the next thing we're going into is any thought? Grace, not you. Yabu, not you for now. Any other person, any thoughts so far? What have we learned so far? What have we discussed so far? I'm just going to go through the slides very quickly. This is where we started from, right? We started from here, didn't we? The business value. So we had how many questions were there?
9.
Grace, that wasn't you, was it you? Was it you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Doc.
Okay. We had this. So please, as I'm going through, I'm asking the same question. What are your thoughts? You must have some thoughts. We had this, and then I transferred this right into this one. Same questions, different, it was posed in a different way. I transferred it into this one. Then we had this, we looked at it from a Netflix point of view, right? Take your time. If you haven't captured it, capture it. Take your time to have a look at it. again, all of these things are online. I mean, if you put in Uber or any other business model, you should find something like this using the business model canvas. You should find something like this. You can see the, what do you call it? www.garyfox.com is, it's already there. Then I gave you an activity, right? You selected a business. I hope you enjoyed the activity as you discussed it. And remember what I'm saying, the whole idea of this is that the one takeaway that if you have never written your own business plan before, or your own business strategy or your own business model, this is where you start from. Grace, does this excite you?
A lot, Doc.
I'm hoping so. Who else was there? Nana Kusi, okay, Nana Kusi says he can't talk. But anybody else who provided their business as what you use, does this excite you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It was really interesting topic.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm expecting that even at the end of this, if you should write out your business plan and show it to me, I'm happy to look at it for you, right? So if you take your time and add lots and lots of flesh to it, but you don't have to go and pay a strategist to do this for you. You can do it yourself. And by the way, the strategist doesn't know your organization, your business, or your plan half as much. If you do this and then you add my vision, my mission, my key values, you're done. That's it. You just add a few things. What's your vision? What's your mission? What are your core values? You know, what's your logo, blah, blah, blah. You have a business plan already to go. So I'm really, really hoping that this excites you, right? Because this is a shortcut. It's the shortest way to write your own business plan. Then we did this, and then we came to this. We now focused on two main areas, which we're saying that at the core or the heart of BMC. At the heart of BMC, you have your business purpose, value proposition, and then you have your client profile or your client segment. These are the heartbeats of the BMC. So it is important that we break it down some more. And we've broken it down into what are the things that the jobs that your customers do. And I'm saying that don't let them do too much work. Customers are lazy people. If they do too much work and somebody, and which includes you and I at any point in time are customers, right? If they do too much work and they move on to somewhere else where there's less work, they'll go to the less workplace, right? So how can I make the job easier for them? And then what are the points of gains and then the points of pain? So that the point of pain, I give them the pain relievers, and then the point of gain, I create or increase their gain for them. So every time you're thinking of how can I make their experience better, that's the gain creator. How can I make it better? And even with product, how can I now give them more product, right? That will cater for. So again, back to Netflix, you see how many different product segments or product sections there are. So what more? Right? And but product also, it doesn't always, I must say that doesn't always apply. Some, for example, Grace, you can decide that I am only catering for first of all, black skin babies, black babies, right? So that's already that's way. But even with the black babies, what exactly? Does it include hair? Does it include skin? Does it include, maybe something for massage with eucalyptus in it, so that, when the everything baby, that's you. That in itself is a category, and you can break it down into further categories, right? So we looked at all of those things, and this is where your assignment is, and this is the assignment. The assignment is that here, identify and discuss these two heartbeats in the BMC, right? Break it down using YALI. Break it down using YALI as the two heartbeats being the groups. And then we came to, okay, how do we now look at the customer cycle in terms of what the value proposition is in that which begins in our minds. Grace sat down one day and said, you know what, this thing is not working for me. It's all in the mind, right? Other people's things are not working for me, and therefore let me find mine. And I'm starting not from an adult point of view, but from a baby point of view. So, okay, if I'm starting from a baby point of view, is it what kind of product am I going to bring? So now I'm thinking of, okay, the mothers that I would have to speak to. right? Because you know the baby doesn't make the decision. The baby is the consumer, but then the mother is the customer. The mother's the one who buys. So you have conversations with the mother, and then they give you insights, and then you go back and you model your products, and then you go back again, they model the product, you come back to them, the concept, the product, the idea, the concept, the product, the idea, until finally you get to stage 4 where you say, let me check it out and see that it is ready. Okay. Any thoughts? Any thoughts?
I think with the customer discovery.
Not
God.
great. Not great. Any thoughts? There are 29 of you, at least 25 of you. It can't be one person. It can't be 2 people. Let me see if I have anything in the chat.
Okay, Doc.
Yes, Emmanuel. Who am I speaking to? Sorry.
Hello. Hello, doctor. Seems we've lost her. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
So
But I think Doc cannot hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear. My internet was. I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Please go on.
Okay, like actually, I was going to ask, like, is it possible for somebody to go back to square one? You know, because for me, what I've learned is, or what I'm thinking is, all of these are what are necessary before somebody actually starts a business. So, but in an instance, you've already, you know, got yourself into business and you're working in an haphazard way. Is it possible to go and start back square one to correct some of the things that are supposed to be done?
So, if I were to ask you the same question, what would your answer be?
I would have said
yes. Sorry?
I said I would have said yes, it's possible.
Yes, you can always, and that's what we should always do. All of us. It's good to go back to the drawing board all the time. Do you know why? Somebody give me one reason why. Even for those of you who are succeeding now, give me one reason why it's good to go back to the drawing board all the time, constantly. Give me one reason.
Well, I would say it keeps you challenged, it keeps you thinking, it keeps you improving, because a business always has to be moving forward, developing.
But not so much. Yes, there is that. I agree with that. What else? I'm looking for something
I also think it can be to measure your growth and your progress over time.
Okay, that too, but not fundamental.
Doc, yes, I think because change always comes around, so it is good to go back to the drawing board, and you will be able to catch up with things.
You're almost there. You are almost there. Something more I'm looking for.
You get to see from a different perspective.
Is it to find new revenue streams, or maybe serve better your customers?
All of the time.
The customer's pain may change.
Fantastic. It's not even the pain relief. It's the customer. Customer needs keep changing. Remember that it is proposition versus customer, right? So all of what you've talked about, all of those of you who were talking about revenue stream and changes, you were talking about the value proposition. But you can't talk about the value proposition without talking about who?
The customer.
About your customer. Right? Yeah. So because your customer is also dynamic and your customer has changing needs, right? You always, even for those of you who are succeeding, always have to go back to the drawing board every 2 years, see what's happening, right? Every 2 years, because for someone like you, Grace, who you're dependent on earthy things, natural things, God knows what's happening in the environment. So aloe vera today will not be the same in 2 years' time. You understand? So all the time. So how is it impacting my baby's skin? Okay, so it's important to do that. All right, so I hope that you've understood that. Let me quickly take you to that, even though I was told that this year this is not so important. So I have it already. We're looking at a very two quick skills, right? Cultural competence and essential skills for sales. I'm interested in the cultural competence. Cultural competence, also known as intercultural competences, is a range of cognitive affective and behavioral skills, right? Which is appropriate in communication for people with other cultures. Now, it's important for you to know that. I say this, I'm bringing this in because when you are dealing with, even for Africa, we might like to think that we are all one people, but we're not. We're of different cultures. How many of you agree that? We're
That is
very
true.
different cultures. Way
I
that we
agree
do
with that
things.
though.
Yes, you know, it's very different. Nigeria is different from Ghana, it's different from Cote d'Ivoire, it's different. But even all French speaking are different. All English speaking are different. And it's important as you are engaging with either the customer side of it or the partner side of it or the whatever side of it, you have to be culturally aware to understand your own culture and other people's culture, right? To be able to understand how to build relationships with these people, with other people, you have to understand how their culture works, right? For example, in Ghana, funeral is a big thing. Don't ask me why. Don't you even ask me why. I have no understanding why it is, but no matter what you do, it is central. So Asaba, if you had a bank in Ghana, believe me, you cannot say that, oh, from where I come, people bury the next day or next 2 days, and it's not a big deal. When your customers lose their parents, you have to be there. I don't understand the logic of it if you ask me, but it is cultural intelligence.
That's
You
right.
understand? It is cultural
Yeah.
intelligence, and you frown at it to your own detriment. Okay, you frown at it to your own detriment. And if you go to somebody's house and they invite you over for dinner, if they're French speaking, be sure that it will be a longer dinner. If they're English speaking, be sure that they will be stingy with their food a bit, and it will be just, you know, a few hours. And that is how it is. So you can't go to a French speaking place and think that, oh, I'm going there for what, an hour and a half, and then from there I'm going to this other place. And an hour and a half, all that you've been served is the starter.
Right.
Okay. So when you are engaging with people, and therefore things like time. When you are engaging with people, how often would you, oh, I apologize, you know, there was how often would you use traffic as an excuse? And then COVID came. And then what were we using as the excuse? And unfortunately, COVID has gone primarily into we're back to traffic. All of you who didn't at the beginning, 15 minutes at 2:15, Yabo said something. He said, if you are not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late. So by the time we started this class at 2:20 or 2:25, we had actually started at about 2:40, a whole 40 minutes late. We had this conversation. So why did you still manage to come late? So even if you're dealing with me, someone like, you have to understand this person's cultural nuances and be able to. Does that make sense? Right?
Yes.
I just wanted to tell you that you can't do business without understanding the cultural intelligence within the environment in which you work. If you want to build relationships, if you want to understand people, if you want to understand cultures, then you must be culturally nuanced. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, I have one more thing. I always do this, right? It's called the Leadership Charter. And I should have introduced it to you last week, but I thought maybe this week will be better. So for every cohort, I ask us to write things that we think that we would like to see, like yourself. So Grace, this is just an example. So I promise to show up. Everyone who was not here by 2 o'clock, this should be one of your things. I promise to show up. I promise you guys are the ones who come up with the woke terminology, which we didn't have before, the woke word, right? I promise to show up. I promise to be woke for everything that concerns me. Somebody said at the beginning that, oh, maybe the reason they're late is because they didn't know whether there was a class today. Now that I jumped out of my skin, literally. How you are a member of this program and not know which days you have a lecture. And I've seen people ask for it all the time. Did we have
It's
lectures?
really embarrassing, whereas we have a canteen.
I have no understanding of it, Asaba. I have no understanding, to be honest. How you are asking, did you not get a program? Did you not get an outline? And I was saying to this person that I know that for this cohort, I will teach you 3 times, right? And before, I knew that it would be a Friday, it would be a Monday, and it would be a Tuesday. Was it another? No, Friday. Today is what, Thursday, and then next week. So I put all of that on my calendar. It started reminding me a week, every single one of them a week before. And then you change it from 1 week to 2 days, and then you change it from 2 days to 1 day, and then you change it from 1 day to a few minutes or a few hours. So how is it that you don't have a calendar and you cannot show up for the things that concern you? I say all the time, there were a number of you who applied, only few of you got in. If this is how you were going to be, why didn't you allow the other people who would have actually done the work, who would have showed up? It's an indictment to you if you are not showing up and you disadvantage or disenfranchise somebody else from being here. Who knows, the person would have showed up at 2 o'clock. You don't have lectures every single day. You don't have this engagement coaching every single day. So you can't say every day because you are doing other things, you are engaged. And you knew that already. You knew you were a worker. You knew you were a full-time worker before you took on Yali. Nobody asked you. So when you were taking it and they were interviewing you, were saying, oh, I know how to time manage. I know how to juggle my time. You came and spoke plenty English and plenty French. You say, I can do it. And now here you are, only 30 out of 70 all the time. I don't understand. If you're not interested, go back to them and say, put somebody else out. But I promise. So you're making promises that you would like to see. The second one is I promise to take on or to create leadership roles whenever possible. In one of the groups, I heard somebody asking, oh, by the way, who is the secretary? And then somebody says, oh, because you've already started, why don't you? Why can't you say, I would want to be the secretary? Why don't you pick up that somebody's background noise? Can you please check your background noise? Those of you, otherwise mute, please. Right? So I'm going to show you one that we did. Am I going back on? I'm going to show you, but don't take a photo, don't do anything, because when you do, you tend to copy. This was for do not, and this and be integrity, be true to yourself. I say don't, so don't, right? Be true to yourself. So cohort 40 leadership charter, this is what I promised to make. And these are all their own promises, okay? So I'm just showing you at the end of the day, about 11. And I know the one I'm going to ask of you. Grace, I've asked of you a few things today, right?
Yes, Doc, but I don't mind.
Okay, so you write them all out, right? And then put dates to it when you say we should be finished with this one or that one or the other. So when am I next meeting you? That too, you should know. I shouldn't even be asking you. You should know when I'm next meeting you. When am I next meeting you? Grace, not you. Don't answer. When am I next meeting you? Can anybody tell me when you meet me next?
Please, Dayma.
Sorry? Can anybody tell me? Okay, this is where I will go to Yali and say, remove all these people and bring another cohort. Yeah, Grace, do you know when I'm meeting next? Back to you.
Tuesday.
Somebody said Tuesday, right? Okay. Those of you who don't know, it's an indictment to you. It's really an indictment to you. You know, you should even be
meeting on the
prepared.
4th.
Somebody see, somebody is saying, Anakusi, our meetings are mostly on Tuesday and Thursday. I know that, but the question, oh, Grace has disappeared.
Tuesday, your meeting is next on Tuesday.
I'm sorry, next Tuesday. All right. Okay, so yes, Grace will write out all the assignments, right? Any takeaways? I'm done. Any takeaways? And you see, I've gone into, I typically don't like doing this. I want to finish, I'm here at 2, I want to finish at 4. I don't like going into, because that's extra time. That's not being faithful to your time. But because you were unfaithful to my time, I'm having to be unfaithful with your time. Any takeaways, please?
Doc, if you don't mind, before the takeaway, I just wanted to confirm the assignments.
Yes,
if
please.
I've missed out.
Yes,
So the
please.
first one was for us to, okay, that's me. I'm supposed to get everyone's business and group them into industries and send that to you as a personal or something. Then the next one is for us to work on the yearly value proposition.
Can you mute your background? I can't hear, sorry. Sorry, yes, go on.
All right, so the second assignment is for us to work in the groups we use for breakouts. But this time we are using yearly as our business model to come up with the 3 segments of the value proposition and the 3 segments of the client profile.
Okay.
Then
Together, those things are called what? Together, they're both called what?
Together, they are both called
the VPC, value proposition canvas.
Canvas,
so
okay.
The assignment is on the VPC, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's one.
Then the third one is the charter.
The charter, right?
Yes. So with the charter, Doc, do you want everyone to put up one promise or pledge?
And that's where the leadership, I don't know, that this is my assignment I've given you. However you want to be innovative about it. I need about 10.
Okay.
Right? I need about 10. So however you're going to do it, do that. Okay, mine is just to see. I mean, in the past, some of them, people have even done a meme on that, you know, we take maybe 1 or 2 that we like, and then we meme it, and then, you know, that. So be as innovative as you possibly can, whatever you want to do with it. Is that the end of it? That's the end of it, right?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Please.
So let me take this opportunity to express my profound appreciation to Nana Kusi again for that wonderful job he did with the skeletal thing. I don't know how many of you have had a look at it since then. I don't know how you are using it. It's not for me, it's for you. I mean, I will do this every cohort, so I know what, you know, but it's for you. And I say, like, I'm asking myself, which of the areas would I like to enhance? So you're looking at it, you've kept it somewhere, every now and again, you look at it, blah, 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 and then you take it. So Nana Kusi, thanks very much once again. You did a wonderful job on it. Let's see the rest of the assignments would also look like. Okay, let's engage some more on WhatsApp. I'll be there. Okay, so any takeaway, or shall we call it? I think we call it a day. If you have anything, you can write it on WhatsApp. I hope you've enjoyed the session.
It was an amazing one.
Yes.
Learn a lot.
Yes, always.
All right then. Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so very much.
Thank
you.
Worries at all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much, ma'am.